Today we're going to review a couple things and then go to the next step. One of the things that we talked about last time that is so important is that we're not doing this. Our face is 5 eyes wide. So that is the space right here beside our eyes. Okay, that's the 5 eyes wide that we used in our face map. Okay, now remember, we're checking, since this is a self-portrait, we're checking. Some of us might not be the 5 eyes wide. So if you're 4 3/4, we talked about how to use your pencil to measure that space and to see. And I am not the 5 eyes wide either. So remember, we're using that to adjust. And we also have to look in terms of the height of our face. So if here is my 5 eyes wide, or my eye measurement, from the eye line starting down, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then from the eye up, 1, 2, 3. So I am a 5 by 4 3/4. So I'm going to turn my paper over, and on the back of my paper, I'm going to write that down. It should be 4 3/4, pardon me. So let's do that math on the back. So check your measurements and write that down. Today we're going to start thinking about how our neck is. Our neck is not straight like a pencil. Our neck has muscles that come down into our body, but it curves just like on a tree. A tree isn't like a stick or a fence post, it tapers in. So when I'm drawing the neck on my paper, I want to be sure that I taper that. And here again, the neck is something that you want to use the mirror to check. Check, check, check. Most of us have not used the mirrors enough to study ourselves, to check those proportions. We're in a hurry, we're fixing our hair, whatever. And we don't really take time to look. So be sure that you take time to look. How is your neck? Here's the edge of my neck. How is that lining up with my face? On my face, my neck does line up with the outside of my eyes, but your face might be different, especially if you're a football player, you lift weights. Think about professional athletes, particularly football players, wrestlers, weightlifters. Their necks are very broad because they have worked out and strengthened these muscles by lifting weights. The second thing is, so we have this line from our neck coming down, and we have our shoulder coming out. Our shoulders are not flat like a table. The line tapers. So we want to look at in the mirror where this line of our shoulders comes and connects with the line of our neck coming down. So we're going to kind of put that in. And then I want you to look at your neckline. Today I'm wearing a turtleneck. So where does that turtleneck start on my neck? It starts up here, and it comes around my neck, and it goes all the way around. So our clothes are on top of our skin, and I'll follow that line on around. And I'll follow that line on around, and then I have the shoulder of my shirt coming down on top. Okay, so I'm going to look at that. Now, my neck line here of my shirt has some wrinkles, so I can include some of those if I wish. The wrinkles seem to show less on the right side, so I might not include those over there. Okay, so clothes fit on top. The next thing we want to talk about is we put in kind of a hairline as a placeholder, but when we start with our hair, we're going to look to see about our part. So here, my bangs come down to here, my eyebrow line. So if I look at where I have my hairline in my drawing, that is where my part starts. And again, I want to check, how does my part line up with my eyes? So I'm going to put a dot there. When I draw hair, I draw groups or chunks of hair. So I'm going to look at this shape, this shape, this shape. So I want to draw and look for chunks of hair. We are not drawing it strand by strand or piece by piece. I don't want you to scribble it in. And I might have to come back and make some adjustments, but I will get that going across the face. Okay, so now I'm going to come back again to that part area and look at how does my hair frame my face. How does it come down? Remember, our face is not straight. How does it come over my ear? And I'm drawing the inside shape first. And now I'm going to draw the outside shape. Remember, hair is fluffy, so it comes out beyond our oval. And my part is coming up as well. And it's coming up over that. And I'm going to stop there because I'm going to come back to the right side now and find how my hair is framing the right side of my face. Okay, and there's a little bit more of an edge here. So we'll come back and put that in. Okay, so we're looking for chunks of hair, shapes of hair, groups of hair, not individual strands and not scribbles. Okay, so now I'm going to take that off. And again, my ears were just placeholders, so now I'm going to look at in the mirror and make sure that what I have drawn is what I see. And so I'm going to make adjustments. So sometimes it's easiest to start with the earlobe. And I see a little shadow here. This is the part of the ear that's dark going into the ear canal, and that's really all I see. This is the part of my face that we talked about that's like the backstop. And on the other side, now remember, if I turn my head, I'm going to see different amounts of the ear. So if I'm looking straight into the mirror, I have to check both sides. If I only have my head turned, I'm only going to see one ear. So try to be consistent. And on this ear, I've shown way too much in here. So I see more of the top, a little bit of this inside shell. So there's not a lot of detail, and then of course I have on earrings. So I'll go ahead and put those in. And on both sides. Okay, now I'm going to come back to the eyes. A couple things I need to check on the eyes. The first is we have our tear ducts in here. We have, if the shape of the eye itself looks like my shape, then I can look at my eyelid. How much of my eyelid do I see? And when we started our eye and we drew our eye socket, we saw that. And then we also have these pockets or shadow areas under our eye. And remember, we talked about how our eye is wet and round, so we're going to look for highlight shapes. You're in a different place. different kind of lighting and different kind of eyes. So you cannot draw highlights where I've drawn mine. You have to look on yours. Okay, and once we have those, then we can start adding our shadow. Just like in our face map, we are not doing eyelashes. So we're going to leave those off. I'm going to try to shade around those highlight areas. If I get overzealous, then I'll have to come back with my eraser and shade those. And remember, when we draw our pupils, we are not drawing a little black circle dot. We're using that kind of starburst or open circle C. I have a darker outline around my iris. So I'll go ahead and do that. And I'm going to adjust my hair a little bit. This is going to come up, I think, a little higher on my part. So that is why we try to draw light to start with, because we may need to make adjustments. This kind of area is where my highlight is because my bangs are turned. So when I start to shade, since we're doing not strands of hair, we're doing chunks of hair, I'm going to shade up to that area. And that's kind of my area of highlight. If I want my areas of chunks of hair to separate, then I want each section or chunk to be a little darker. I have to look at how the edges come together. Is it darker at the edge or lighter at the edge? Is there a space between? And I don't have to shade everything, but that's how I could start. All right. So usually we would probably save the hair for last. One of the areas of critical shadow is around our eyes. Usually in here, close to our nose, we have the most shadow. But let's go light on the shadow. And so by that, I mean let's do a little bit at a time. It's always easier to add more than it is to take away. So I can always make it a little darker. Depending on where you are, the light might be stronger on one side of your face than the other side of your face. But our eyes do go in to our face. So remember, our faces are not flat. So we have shadow here. And if we look from here to here, the shadow area is all the way above our eye, but the most shadow is on this edge and on the inside edge. So there's more shadow at the edges and less shadow in the middle. So what I want you to do is check and see if that shadow has a shape. It's not just everywhere, so it follows this sort of circular shape of our orbit of our eye, and it might even have a pretty definitive edge. Okay, how is the shadow? Usually the shadow comes down to the eyelid, and then it's above the eyelid, but the eyelid is more in light. So if that's the case, then the shadow's going to be more like this, not so much over here. When we're thinking about adding eyebrows, take a look at how the hair is growing on your face. Okay, so if here is my eyebrow, usually the eyebrow hair is going to be short. Sometimes it's longer at the beginning, and it grows on top of that bone. Okay, some people's eyebrows are more straight, and some people spend a lot of time getting their eyebrows to be very narrow because they pluck them or whatever. So again, use yourself as a model. If your hair comes down and covers your eyebrows, then you're not going to show them. And so mine are right here on top. And I'm just going to put a few marks to show that on each side. We're always checking the mirror. Remember, we're studying ourselves. And then if you are finished and then you say, oh my goodness, my hair is different today, I see more of my eyebrows, then you can go ahead and add that. When we're adding our nose or shading our nose, remember the bottom of the nose is in shadow. It's turning under, and so we have to create the shadow on the nose. Usually the bridge of the nose has highlight in the center, and the shadows come down into the side of our face. Okay, so and the highlight is going to be towards the center. So the rest of the nose has some kind of light on it, but the highlight is where there's no shading. And check out on your nostrils where the shadow is on your nostrils. Where the highlight is, they are not flat either. And the shadows are going to depend on your nose, on your face, and also on the lighting. Sometimes the shadows are on your, not on the nose, but they're on the surface of your face. Some people have really distinctive lines here where the values change. So if you have that, put those in. You're younger, so you might not have those. On our lips, remember our upper lip is more in shadow than our lower lip. Our lower lip has highlights. So I want to keep my shading kind of tentative or light at first, so that if I change my mind, if I notice some new details, it's easier for me to make changes. The highlight again of the lower lip is towards the center. Think about where your lip is coming out. And our upper lip is darker than our lower lip because it's more in shadow. So it's a process of building. Between my lip and my chin, I have this valley, and there's quite a lot of shadow there. Sometimes the shadow goes all the way up to the upper lip. If you see that, then go ahead and put that in. But again, use the mirror to check your face. And we're going to lose this oval because we're going to suggest it by how we put the shadow in. When we go from our chin to our neck, there is a value difference here as well. So we're looking for, not only is the value from the face, the chin to the neck different in value, but also our neck is not flat. So is there more shadow on the left or more shadow on the right? And it looks like for me today, the way the lighting is, there's more shadow on the right. My neck is curved, so I'm going to curve my shadow around. There is some highlight here, but it's not all highlighted. So I might use fewer pencil marks, or I might lightly shade it and then go back and use my eraser to create the highlight. So I'm trying to build the value as well. Then I also need to consider the inside of my shirt versus the outside of my shirt. This is the darkest value in here. So again, it's going around the inside of the shirt. And I have a little bit of that space between my neck and the shirt on the left side as well. Okay, so gradually we will add the values. It is not necessary to totally shade everything. We do want to develop the values on the shirt, neckline, the face, so that we can see highlights and shadows, so we see a variation in value. And so we may need to come back and adjust a little bit more as we go. If we want a smoother tone, remember you can create that by using the side of your pencil rather than the tip, and layer the values. Don't forget, there are going to be shadows inside the ears where we see those, some shadows in the earlobe, but also in the parts of your ear that kind of go in. Okay? All right, that's enough to get you going, and we'll check in next time.